Have you ever wondered why crows appear in so many dark stories? Why these blackbirds are linked to death, to magic, and to gods? Why is it that in nearly every ancient culture, crows are seen as messengers of the unknown? How can a simple bird carry so much mystery, power, and superstition? Did you know that to the Vikings, crows were sacred, the eyes and ears of Odin, the most powerful god? Or that in other cultures, they are seen as soul guardians, spiritual guides, and even prophets of the end? But what is myth and what is real? Did these symbols arise simply because of the crow's appearance, or is there something deeper, something true behind it all? In this video, you'll dive into centuries of mythology, legends, and fascinating stories surrounding one of the most intelligent birds on Earth. We'll travel from Scandinavia to Japan, across battlefields, shadowy forests, and ancient temples, always guided by the haunting presence of the crow. Get ready to discover how a simple bird claimed its place in the heart of world mythology and continues to haunt our imagination to this day. If you love content like this, hit that like button, share what intrigues you most about crows in the comments, and subscribe so you don't miss the next videos. And don't forget to check out my ebook, The Ultimate Bird Facts Collection, 30 Surprising Truths, available now for just $7.99. Links pinned in the comments. Let's unravel this mystery together. In Norse mythology, two crows held a place of great importance beside the most powerful of the gods, Odin. Their names were Hugin and Munin, which mean thought and memory, respectively. These crows weren't just divine pets. They were Odin's eyes and ears in the world of mortals. Every morning, Hugin and Munin flew across the 9 realms of Norse cosmology, observing battles, listening to conversations, witnessing secrets. At the end of the day, they would return to Odin's throne, perch on his shoulders, and whisper everything they had seen and heard. To the Vikings, this symbolized wisdom. Odin's sharp mind needed information, and crows, with their intelligence and keen sight, were the perfect messengers. But there was an odd detail. Odin feared they might not come back. The fear of losing thought or memory, Hugin and Munin, wasn't just poetic. It reflected a deeply human concern, the fear of losing one's sanity, forgetting who we are, or watching reason slip away. This legend shows that even in ancient times, crows were seen as creatures connected to the mind, to the spirit, and to communication between worlds. It's no coincidence that even today, their presence in stories and films carries such powerful symbolism. From Odin's shoulders to modern imagination, crows have always represented far more than just a black bird. In many ancient cultures, the presence of crows on battlefields was seen as a dark omen, not only because these birds fed on the remains left by war, but because they often appeared even before the first sword was drawn. For the Celtic peoples, for example, crows were associated with the goddess Morrigan, a powerful and shadowy figure linked to war, death, and fate. She was said to take the form of a crow, flying over armies just before combat, choosing who would live and who would fall. This symbolism was no coincidence. With their black feathers and harsh cries, crows inspired fear and respect. Their constant presence among the dead fueled the belief that they weren't just opportunistic animals, but messengers of the gods, harbingers of doom, watchers of the soul. In ancient Rome, historical accounts suggest that soldiers believed the direction of a crow's flight could determine the outcome of a battle. And even in modern times, crows remain tied to mourning, appearing in funeral scenes in films, carved into cemetery statues, and featured in ghost stories. They don't bring death, but they're always nearby when it comes. And that, in the human imagination, has been more than enough to make them eternal symbols of the unknown. Not all cultures associated crows with death or darkness. In Japan, this bird took on a completely different role. a divine guide, a symbol of light and spiritual renewal. Enter Yatagarasu, the legendary three-legged crow. Yes, 3 legs. A mystical figure revered in Shintoism, Japan's traditional religion. This crow wasn't seen as a harbinger of doom, but as a celestial messenger sent by the gods to guide emperors, warriors, and even the Japanese people themselves. According to legend, Yatagarasu appeared in the skies to lead Emperor Jimmu, the mythical first emperor of Japan, to the promised land where he would establish his dynasty. Since then, the crow became a symbol of correct direction, wisdom, and divine intervention. You can still find depictions of Yatagarasu in temples, on ancient crests, and even in something quite modern, the official emblem of the Japanese national football team. This contrast with the West is fascinating. While many cultures see crows as omens of death, in Japan they are beacons of guidance, beings that light the way when all seems dark or uncertain. This cultural duality reveals how the symbolism of the crow is shaped by the beliefs, fears, and dreams of each people. And maybe that's exactly why they remain so mysterious to this day. In Judeo-Christian tradition, the crow also plays a powerful, though often overlooked, role. Do you remember Noah's Ark? Before the white dove was released and returned with an olive branch, who was the first bird Noah sent out? A crow. According to the biblical account, after the great flood, Noah released a raven to see if the waters had receded. The raven flew back and forth, but never returned to the ark, unlike the dove that followed. For a long time, this behavior was seen negatively, as if the crow were rebellious or unworthy. But there's another interpretation, much more powerful. The crow survived on its own. It faced the post-flood world, full of devastation, mud, corpses, and chaos, and endured. It was the first living creature to explore the reborn earth. And there's more. In Jewish tradition, the prophet Elijah was fed by crows during a time of drought and persecution. They brought him bread and meat every day, sustaining him in the desert. That image, crows nourishing a holy man, flips the idea of them being impure or ominous creatures. Deep down, these texts reveal something profound. The crow is resilient. It's a survivor. It can pass through the darkest of times and still find life. It's not just a symbol of death, but of overcoming death. In some traditions, the crow is a messenger or an omen, but among the indigenous peoples of the northwest coast of North America, such as the Tlingit, Haida, and Kwakwakawaku, the crow is the creator of the world itself. In these ancient cultures, the crow is not just a bird, it's a mythical being with divine powers, clever, transformative, sometimes a trickster, but always essential to the existence of life as we know it. In one of the most well-known legends, the world was once covered in total darkness. There was no sun, no moon, no stars. It was the crow who, through cunning and intelligence, managed to steal the light, which was hidden inside boxes within boxes, guarded by an old man. Flying high with this stolen light, the crow illuminated the world. It created the day, revealed the beauty of the mountains, rivers, and forests, and gave humans the gift of sight. But the crow also appears in other myths, freeing the rivers, bringing food, and organizing the natural world. Its image is found in ceremonial totems, sacred masks, paintings, and rituals, always with a mysterious presence, somewhere between the sacred and the playful. These stories show a different, enchanting side of crow symbolism, not the messenger of death, but the giver of life. A figure who, through tricks and ambiguity, brings order out of chaos. This duality, creator and trickster, reflects the nature of the world itself, beautiful and cruel, wise and unpredictable. And the crow, with its sharp mind and powerful presence, continues to soar between those extremes. No modern image of the raven is more iconic than the one crafted by Edgar Allan Poe in his famous poem, The Raven. Published in 1845, the poem plunges readers into a dark, melancholic atmosphere. where a mysterious raven enters through a window and begins repeating a haunting word, nevermore. That single word becomes a psychological hammer. Perched on a bust of Pallas Athena, the raven transforms into a symbol of pain that won't fade, memory that won't die, and grief that never ends. With this work, Poe immortalized the raven as a messenger of doom, of death, of the inescapable. Already a mysterious creature, the raven took on new weight, gothic, somber, almost supernatural. And its influence didn't stop there. Since then, ravens have appeared in films, music, comics, tattoos, t-shirts, and even band names. They show up in stories of witchcraft, fantasy games, as familiars of sorcerers or spies for villains. But what makes this image so powerful isn't just the darkness. It's the bird's real-life intelligence. The audience senses that the raven knows something, that it watches, understands, maybe even judges in silence. And that's what makes it so captivating in fiction, the feeling that the raven sees more than we do. Even when it's just a symbol or decoration, one truth remains. The raven never really left our imagination. In modern times, the raven hasn't vanished, quite the opposite. It has spread its wings even further in pop culture. One of the most iconic examples is the series Game of Thrones. There, ravens are used as messengers between castles and kingdoms, echoing their symbolic role in Norse mythology. But it goes deeper. One of the most mysterious characters in the series is the three-eyed raven, an all-seeing, all-knowing entity who guides Bran on his path to becoming the world's new memory keeper. In that story, the raven isn't just a bird. It's knowledge, vision, and fate. In other movies and shows, the raven appears as a harbinger or spiritual guardian. In The Crow, a 1990s cult classic, the protagonist is brought back from the dead by a raven to avenge his and his fiancée's murder. Here, the bird serves as a bridge between the world of the living and the dead, giving the hero a dark, poetic presence. Even in animations, like Pixar's Brave or the Harry Potter films, ravens appear as striking figures, full of mystery and symbolic meaning. And that happens for a simple reason. The raven is a universal figure. Wherever you are in the world, it stirs emotion, respect, and a quiet sense of awe. Its dark feathers, piercing eyes, and sharp mind, everything about it seems to whisper that there's more than meets the eye. And maybe that's why, century after century, the raven keeps soaring, not just through the skies, but through every story we tell. While mythology and pop culture turned them into legends, modern science has revealed that ravens are just as extraordinary as the stories claim, or maybe even more. Studies show that these birds belong to a rare group of animals with intelligence comparable to great apes. They can solve complex problems, use tools, anticipate events, and even learn by observation, a skill seldom seen outside the human realm. In one famous experiment, a raven learned to use a sequence of objects to retrieve hidden food, like solving a logic puzzle. And it wasn't just trial and error. The bird planned each step, showing clear strategic thinking. But it goes further. Ravens can recognize human faces, hold grudges against those who threaten them, and even teach other ravens to avoid dangerous people. They build complex social networks, share information, and some researchers believe they may have a form of language, with vocalizations that change depending on context. Another stunning discovery: they show signs of self-awareness, like recognizing their own reflection in mirrors, something extremely rare in the animal kingdom. These abilities suggest that the raven isn't just intelligent, it may be conscious. In other words, behind those deep black eyes, there could be a mind that thinks, remembers, judges, and watches. Over time, ravens have been painted in the colors of night. They've been called omens of doom, linked to death, witchcraft, and the end. But today we know these birds are far more than dark symbols. They reflect the duality within us all. In the darkness of their gaze there is wisdom. In their silent presence there is mystery, but also intelligence, resilience, and a deep connection to the natural world. The raven exists in ancient myths, tragic poems, modern stories, and scientific studies. It's Odin's messenger, the keeper of memory in Westeros, Poe's symbol of mourning, and the feathered genius watching us from the treetops of our own cities. If the raven is a sign of death, maybe it's because it always appears where change is happening, where something ends, but also where something begins. Perhaps that's why it fascinates us so deeply, because the raven, in the end, is a mirror of our curiosity, our darkness, our search for meaning. And if it flies between worlds, between myth and science, between sky and earth, it's because it always had wings larger than we imagined. If this story surprised you, leave a comment sharing what impressed you most. Suggest topics for future videos, and share this one with someone who loves mythology, birds, or mind-blowing facts. And don't forget to check out my ebook, The Ultimate Bird Facts Collection, 30 Surprising Truths. Available now for just $7.99. Links pinned in the comments. Your support helps the channel fly even higher.